The audacity to sit up here and say you believe in Donald Trump in 2016, you are flat out racist.
Donald Trump is not for you, he's not for him, he's not for him, he's not for you.
I know that. I vote for Hillary, and I'm
Hillary Clinton, a known liar. Bernie Sanders, a socialist who didn't have a job until he was 40.
That's right. That's right.
There's your candidate.
I'll take him over Donald Trump any day.
Donald Trump, who's employed millions and millions of people.
He's a racist.
Donald Trump is a racist.
He is not a racist. And let me just say this here. He is leading with the African American. He is not a racist. What he wants is to bring America back this way. That's right. What he wants is to keep us safe and create jobs for them. He
is not a racist, misogynist, or a bully. He's real.
He should be president of the United States. That's what he should be.
So he's got your vote?
Yeah, hell, big time. Why wouldn't anybody like that? A guy that came from where he came from and doing what he's doing, and now this is where he's at now. Know what that means? That don't mean he's a bad guy, the people don't know what they're doing. That means the people are tired of what you've been doing, what we've been doing the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. That's all it says. Let's try something new.
Right.
Let's run America like a business. Yeah. But no colors matters. Whoever could do the job gets the job.
Mm-hmm. I will die before I let Donald Trump become president of the United States.
Hillary Clinton let people die in Benghazi.
That's all right. Come on, get out.
That's all right. Okay.
Benghazi, for real.
I'm not going to vote for a guy who I know is not going to support me. I'm not dumb, bro. I'm not dumb, bro. How do you know he's not going to support you?
Yes, bro. He hasn't said. What has he said that's been political to help us? Have you heard him say anything positive? Have you?
I'm going to bring back jobs. I'm going to create wealth for the country. People are going to partake. We're going to take back jobs from China, from Japan, from Mexico, from all these countries that are ripping us off. And African Americans are going to benefit. And by the way, Hispanics are going to benefit. I have now thousands of Hispanics that work for me. The African American poll came out. How is it 25%? No Republican's been above 7 or 8%. Look at African American people in their prime, 30s and 40s and 50s. Look at their unemployment rate. They want jobs.
If you look at my tax proposal, it's really for the middle-income people, and people that aren't doing well are going to be paying nothing, and they're going to start doing well because we're going to have a tremendous incentive for people to get out and wanting to work and really wanting to better themselves, have fantastic families and fantastic lives.
We made history today because we had meaningful dialogue with Mr. Donald Trump. And we voiced concerns that were sensitive to the African-American community. We asked questions, and the questions were answered where we're all satisfied with the answers, and we're a unified front right here. We had a wonderful time, wonderful dialogue, wonderful fellowship, wonderful interaction. It was a great day
Mr. Scott,
here in Trump Tower today.
What were your concerns? What were your concerns?
I didn't have concerns because I was already convinced, but there were concerns that the liberal media has put out portraying Mr. Trump in a light that I know he's not the type of person that he was depicted to be. So what we were able to do today was allow people to see his heart for themselves and to make up their own minds about him. And they find out that he's not the person that the media has depicted him to be.
Are you endorsing?
I support Donald Trump, and everybody knows that.
100%.
Everybody knows that. Yes. Yes.
Because he's unifying black and white people. No, he's not. Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
These are deep-seated difficulties that certain communities have, and we're going to address them. And certainly if I'm put in a position where I can do something about them, which in this case happens to be president, we will be working very, very closely with everybody, and we're going to be solving a lot of problems. Right now you have black youth. If you look at African American youth, where it's 51 and 55 and 57% unemployed. You have African American people of different ages where it's double and triple other numbers. So we're looking at a lot of different things.
We have called for Harlem for Trump, and I got to tell you, Alex, black people here in Harlem are touting that Trump is the man. They're finally hearing what they thought they were going to hear in Obama. They're hearing a man who's speaking truth to power.
It's tough to build housing for people. It's tough to educate people when you're losing $140 to $200 billion a year. I want the money so that we can put the money into Harlem, so that we can give the money back to education.
With him working with us and we're working with him, I believe that he's going to direct capital towards the inner city. We're going to see prosperity. We're going to see jobs. We're going to see end of the unemployment crisis in America. And I'm just encouraging the black Americans especially, because already there's a move of God. There's more people that are saying, I'm voting for Donald Trump. I'm not voting for the Republican, but I'm voting for Donald Trump.
And Mr. Trump is willing to go out there and sacrifice, you know, his life, because like you said, he doesn't need money, he doesn't need power, he's powerful already, he has a name, he has what he needs. And I tell people all the time, you know, I trust Donald Trump, because if he can put himself out there like that for, you know, I just say for black people, because a lot of the Latino and black crime is happening in the black community. It was sort of transformed. It used to be all black, now it's all Latino, so we're pretty much, you know, in a different land, so to speak. And if he can put himself out for us, then I can trust him and everything else. It's like your dad. He's a loving guy. I mean, come on, you see him on TV, you're fired, but you see him in real life. You know? He's a nice guy, you know, and I just learned that myself. I tell everybody, you know, and in my community, you know, I have a lot of black friends, and of course a lot of them are liberals, but they're ready to vote for Trump now. They're saying, I haven't voted in 10 years, you know. He said, I haven't voted in 10 years. I haven't voted, but I'm going to vote for Trump. And people feel energized.
I want you to understand something, America and the world, that Donald Trump is indeed a hero. Unexpectedly, Donald Trump has risen.
When we dialogue, we correct misperceptions. That is what makes Trump acceptable.
He doesn't need to be president. He wants to be because he believes that he can help and make America great again. He's got a passion. I actually say it's a calling and an anointing. Again, don't believe the lies. All those lies about him being a racist and everything is coming from the Democratic, liberal media that is trying to keep him from being president. It's all political stuff, y'all. Listen, don't believe all that stuff. If you're going to believe anybody, believe a minister. We're in store for a moving back to God that we've never seen before. Isn't it time? I believe it's our time and it's our season. And bless God, we're going to give God all the glory for it. Vote Donald Trump.
Who not only says what he believes, but is willing to put himself in jeopardy for what he believes, and will help us economically and spiritually and in every way in this nation. So today we pray for Donald Trump. Yes. We pray for his family. We pray for his associates. We pray that what he has heard today from those who have spoken into his life, he will consider. Lord, I pray that you will bring into his life a strong African American who can stand with him and represent that community so that his voice will be heard even in a stronger way there.
Now, some people said, well, why would you get behind a man like Donald Trump? I'll tell you why. First of all, I've come to know Donald Trump over the last few years. He is actually a very intelligent man who cares deeply about America. I prayed about it a lot, and I got a lot of indications, people calling me that I haven't talked to for a long time saying, I had this dream about you and Donald Trump. I mean, you know, there's a lot more alignment philosophically and spiritually than I ever thought that there was. And he will speak to that. But, you know, that actually surprised me more than anything, because I do recognize how a person's image can be greatly distorted. And I think as the American people who we are focusing on, as they begin to see the real individual there and those who are helping that individual, I think we're going to be comforted as a nation. You know, we have to start working together. We cannot allow the agents of division to continue to separate us. As a nation, our strength is our unity. Donald Trump talks a lot about making America great, but it's not just talk, he means it. I'm going to be helping him. Others are going to be helping him.
I met Mr. Trump over 5 years ago in a personal meeting that was organized by a mutual friend. And to be honest, I went into the meeting somewhat prejudicially. I went in with an opinion of him that had been formed through media portrayals. How many of you know what I'm talking about? In that meeting, I asked Mr. Trump some very direct and pointed questions about race, and race relations, and I received very direct answers from Mr. Trump that erased all of my preconceptions.
He was a racist and hate monger. I'm black. What would I do? What would I be doing with Donald Trump? I'm not a token black. He doesn't pay me to endorse him.
He's free. He's rich. He hates political correctness, and rightly so.
I know Trump, yeah. No other president, nobody else running for president is going to shake my hand and do anything kind for me.
Donald Trump, whom I've had the wonderful privilege of getting to know, the wonderful conversations that I've had with him, to see the love that he has for this great country. He's a president, he will be a president of all Americans. This is why I am so happy to shout that all lives matter. Jesus didn't die on the cross so that one particular, and this really bothers me, how the liberal media is doing a wonderful job in making sure our country stay divided and not united. How they are trying their best to make sure you and I focus on the race and our color.
That's it? Race is the only issue we have in this country? Nah, but right now it's kind of a big fucking thing, bro.
He's not the divisive hate monger that he's being portrayed to be by the Democratic Party. They want to portray that image upon America to prevent people from voting for him.
We are tired of seeing him discriminate against people that are Hispanic, blacks. They pick on the sound bites that some people are trying to project as the perception of Donald Trump. He is not a racist.
Saying racist things. So when he says things like, let's make America white again, that sounds like a racist statement. And as a
when did he say that?
For me, as a black man, I can't support
He didn't say let's make America white again.
America white again.
No, he didn't. He did not say that.
I've never heard that statement, Megan.
No, I've never heard that either. That's
Donald Trump was endorsed by the Ku Klux Klan.
Well, he can't help even if they did endorse him, he can't help who endorses him.
What he is saying is exactly what they use to try to get people incited to believe that he's a racist. Donald Trump didn't say that. Long as Donald Trump didn't endorse them and their principles, you are using that to incite black people, Hispanic people, and non-white people to portray him as a racist.
If you misrepresent the record, it undermines your whole argument.
The good old white days are over with. The good old white days are over with. Ain't no more of them days, bro. It's over.
That's not racist.
No,
I'm racist, though. I'm racist. That's not racist. I'm racist.
Hell no, that's not racist. That's telling the truth.
You've never experienced oppression in your entire fucking life. Neither have I.
You don't know me.
You're fucking a white male.
So?
You're a white man. Brown people. He wants to deport. Yes, he wants to deport Mexicans.
People are going to come into our country. We want people to come in, but they've got to come in like you, legally, right? My man. Look at this. Come here. Come here. Want to say hello? Say hello. Come on.
I'm surprised I'm up here. I came to this country when I was 5 years old, and my dad went through how to get a citizenship, and we did it by the book. And I'm here because I'm agitated that the media does not separate legal immigration from illegal. People spill out their guts to come here legally, and it's just really a shame that they give you a bad name. You do support immigration.
Totally support, and I support Hispanics.
Thank you.
I support. Great guy.
Thank you.
There are very big problems stemming from Mexican illegal immigration. As we all know, Mexico is the major supplier of illegal drugs into the USA. The drug cartels down there have corrupted the police and many politicians. They're brutal thugs who commit mass murder, torture. ISIS has nothing on these drug cartels. They're both savage enterprises. Border security in Mexico, non-existent. According to government statistics, 71% of non-American citizens in federal prisons are from Mexico.
So I'd like to speak a little bit about his son and how incredible his son was and how his son should be here with us. I mean, his son should be alive, and he should be in one of the great colleges, and he should be maybe someday in the NFL, but he won't be because an illegal immigrant shot him.
The guy who did it was released from the county jail, just like in San Francisco, on his third gun charge. Now, you have somebody illegally in the country with 3 gun charges already. He's in jail now for battery on a peace officer, then let him out 4 months early. The same day he got out, he had the Mexican mafia orders the Latino gang members to go out the same day and commit crimes so you won't be rehabilitated. So it's like an order. You have to go out the same day and commit crimes in the black neighborhood. Saw my son, ran right over there and killed him. Just because he was there, and, he had a guy in the back seat with him that was there just as a reporter to prove that he got out the car, shot him in the head with a big gun. He had a .45. The coroner said that he was on his back with like this, and he shot him through his hands into his head. Now, we hear all the time, Michael Brown, hands up, don't shoot. Now, that was really hands up, don't shoot. I'm sure he wasn't saying anything because he just had a bullet wound in his stomach, but you could imagine your child. I tell people all the time when they protest me or they protest Mr. Trump, what you have to do is soul search. Put yourself in my shoes. Now, this was 18th Street gang member in the gang database, and these were the ones that Obama said they wanted. The violent ones, the gangbangers, the ones with guns. People, my friends were calling me, liberal friends calling me, turn the TV on, Donald Trump is talking about helping America. I turned on and I saw when I saw it, I was so happy. I felt hope, real hope, Yeah, I felt real change, And one thing Donald Trump showed me when he came out aggressively like he did is that he can weather the storm, And we really got to get him in here. He loves America, I would tell you, I'm serious. If Donald Trump wasn't a real deal, I wouldn't come around him because, my son was murdered, so I don't trust nobody. He's the only one that's talking about saving our country. All the Republicans, we were going to be bamboozled. Donald Trump exposed them all because they were all going to say, we're going to save the border and we're going to save, and they wouldn't have did nothing. Because now they're after him. So what were they going to do for us? Nothing. And I can always say, when people don't want to hear what I have to say, ask yourself, what would you do if somebody killed your kids?
The Constitution demands that the federal government protect Americans from foreign intruders. Demands it. Obviously, that responsibility is not being met. And if you point that out, as Trump did, you're a racist, a piñata for the open border crowd to bash.
When you look at things like the open borders, that's about importing workers. When you look at these trade agreements, NAFTA, TPP, TTIP, that's about exporting jobs. We're not going to allow our economy to be managed by a foreign commission. And that's precisely what is going to be set up by the TPP, by the TTIP.
That we proposed together, President Bush and myself, it's ALCA, which is a trade union for all of the Americas. A new vision like we're trying to do with NAFTA.
The Bush administration's open borders policy and its decision to ignore the enforcement of this country's immigration laws is part of a broader agenda. President Bush signed a formal agreement that will end the United States as we know it, and he took the step without approval from either the U.S. Congress or the people of the United States.
It was agreed to by Mexico's President Fox, Canada's Prime Minister Martin, and President Bush in 2005, which calls for the securing of Mexico's southern border by the United States and Canada. Lou, that's not the border with the United States. That's the border they share with Belize and Guatemala.
I saw what he said about Muslims, about the Ku Klux Klan.
Trump refuses to denounce the KKK.
He refuses to denounce the KKK.
Mr. Trump, how do you feel about the recent endorsement from David Duke?
I didn't even know he endorsed me. David Duke endorsed me? Okay. All right. I disavow. Okay?
I want to ask you about the Anti-Defamation League, which this week called on you to publicly condemn unequivocally the racism of former KKK Grand Wizard David Duke.
Well, just so you understand, I don't know anything about David Duke, okay? I don't know anything about what you're even talking about with white supremacy or white supremacists. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know, did he endorse me or what's going on?
Because we had heard that there was no endorsement. So, of course, Mr. Trump says, let me know who you're talking about.
I've rejected David Duke. I've rejected the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. From the time I'm 5 years old, I rejected them.
What do you see as the biggest problem with the Reform Party right now?
Well, you've got David Duke just joined, a bigot, a racist, a problem. I mean, this is not exactly the people you want in your party.
I'm David Duke, and this is a quick, unscripted response to the CNN interview today with Donald Trump. I can begin by the inaccurate reporting of the media that I have endorsed Donald Trump. Specifically, I have said clearly, and every time I've talked about his candidacy, that I am not endorsing Donald Trump.
Even if you don't know about their endorsement, there are these groups and individuals endorsing you.
I mean, I don't know what group you're talking about.
Number one, you disavowed David Duke 2 days prior.
If he said on Friday, I disavow, why ask him again on Saturday?
Why not disavow David Duke, disavow the KKK? What's going on?
I'm saying to myself, how many times do I have to continue to disavow people? And the question was asked about David Duke and various groups. And I don't know who the groups are. I disavowed David Duke, and I disavowed him the day before at a major news conference, which is surprising because CNN was at the major news conference, and they heard me very easily disavow David Duke. I disavowed David Duke all weekend long on Facebook, on Twitter, and obviously it's never enough.
How would you characterize in more words than one David Duke?
David Duke is a bad person who I disavowed on numerous occasions over the years.
I will not stop until we fight a man that chooses not to disavow the KKK. That is not a part of our party. That's not who we want as president. We will not allow that in our country.
I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke. I've been doing it now for 2 weeks. You're probably about the 18th person that's asked me the question. It was very clear.
But the facts are, even David Duke himself come out and said, I did not endorse Donald Trump. When Mr. Trump first heard about it, he disavowed it unequivocally and immediately.
When I put out that I reject KKK and David Duke, nobody picks it up. You know why they're not? Because they don't want to pick it up. They pick it up. You pick it up. Everyone else picks it up. You saw simultaneously, practically at the same time. They don't want to pick it up. Now, I have been asked this question so many times. I have rejected it so many times.
I don't need his endorsement. I certainly wouldn't want his endorsement.
I said to myself, how many times do I have to reject or disavow? I told CNN when Chris Christie endorsed me, a very good endorsement, and one of the questions, that question was asked, and I rejected it there. No, I don't want them, and I don't want him to say it. I can't help if he says it. If he says it, but I don't want it, and if he says it, John, if he says it, he says it, okay? Do I want it? No.
And do I want the supporters?
No, I don't want anything.
What do you think of white supremacists, by the way?
I don't like any group of hate. Hate groups are not for me. But I've said this before. The press hates me to say it. They just don't want to pick it up.
There's been a lot of talk about one of our presidential candidates and his seeming ambivalence about David Duke and the KKK. So let me make it perfectly clear. Senate Republicans condemn David Duke, the KKK.
You've seen that tweet from Mitt Romney. Says your coddling of repugnant bigotry is not in the character of America. Your response?
Yeah, David Duke and all were disavowed. I disavowed him on Friday. I disavowed him right after that because I thought if there was any question, and you take a look at Twitter, almost immediately after on Twitter and Facebook they were disavowed again. I disavowed him every time I speak to somebody virtually, and they just keep it going. They keep it going, and they said, "Oh, we never looked at your Twitter account. We never looked at Facebook." I said, "Take a look at Facebook." It was totally disavowed.
So are you prepared right now to make a clear and unequivocal statement renouncing the support of all white supremacists?
Of course I am. Of course I am. I mean, there's nobody that's done so much for equality as I have.
David Duke and people like that, they come out from under the rocks all the
one time around this time this year. It got nothing to do with Donald Trump. We're all Americans. I think we need to stop with all the racist stuff and the race baiting. Like me and my friend right here, we just met today and we was talking. You know, we got to stop with the racist stuff and this, that. We all Americans, man. And nobody paying David Duke no mind.
I happen to know, and everyone in America happens to know, that Donald Trump is not a racist. That's a tag that his opponents and the media tries to label him with, but he's not a racist. I mean, he did disavow David Duke. Hugh said he'll have to disavow him until eternity, which he probably will.
There's been a lot of emotion on the campaign trail, and in some cases, unfortunately, there's been some violence.
Trump has got to get on the TV and tell his supporters that violence in the political process in America is not acceptable. End of discussion.
Some of your supporters in Chicago were acting violently as well, and I have to say, the guy who rushed the stage yesterday at Donald Trump voted for you. Now, I know you're not encouraging the violence, but
Jake,
you need to tell your supporters.
Millions of people voted for me. If I have to take responsibility for everybody who voted for me, it will be a very difficult life.
Crazed, violent Bernie Sanders supporters, Black Lives Matter extremists and other leftist agitators, unhinged mobs assaulted people, attacked police, tore up signs, blocked ambulances, fired guns in the air.
If I like Donald Trump and I want to vote for him, I'm going to do it. So what? What are you going to do? Shoot me, beat me up?
No,
I don't think so.
No, it's not.
It's not the establishment necessarily that's opposing Donald Trump. You have a bunch of lobbyists on K Street right now hiding under their desks, figuring out how they can deal with Trump or perhaps co-opt him.
Mr. Trump is willing to do what needs to be done to break the stranglehold of special interest groups and the political class.
You know, the nice thing is they can't come to me and say, well, we gave you money, you know, Ford or General Motors or somebody. We gave you a lot of money. We need this, we need that. I'm going to do what's right for you folks, okay? I'm going to be fair to everybody, but I'm going to do what's right. And that's why we have the big deficits we have. That's why we make the bad trade deals, because all of these politicians are controlled by lobbyists and donors, etc.
And that's one of the things that I admire about Mr. Trump, because he told them all, I don't want your money. And when a politician does not want money from the rich, he's freer than the others to really do good for the masses of the people.
I saw what he said about Muslims.
We cannot vet the refugees from Syria. And when I talk to people involved in the vetting, they have no confidence at all in the people that are being allowed in. There's no way, you know, when people talk about thorough vetting, there is no vetting as a practical matter.
The head of the FBI and the head of the Department of Homeland Security come out yesterday saying they are concerned because there are not records to vet against.
We can and should do more to best enforce the security of our borders.
The challenge we're all talking about is that we can only query against that which we have collected. And so if someone has never made a ripple in the pond in Syria in a way that would get their identity or their interests reflected in our database, we can query our database until the cows come home, but we're not going to, there'll be nothing show up.
Until we can come up with some system, and I don't know how we will, I would say we should try to find a sanctuary for them in the Middle East. But until then, we cannot put Americans at risk.
Now, well, the Muslim thing, not allowing any Muslims into the United States.
We're talking about on a short-term basis, temporary. You're going to have exceptions. You're going to have people coming in.
But when you know that the ISIS is going to attempt to infiltrate terrorists with those refugees, that puts the U.S. directly at risk.
And it's not about religion. This is about safety. This has nothing to do with religion. It's about safety. You look at what's going on. Look at Paris and look at look what happened in Los Angeles. People are in fear. They're waiting for the next attack. I'm about security. I'm about safety. And if we continue to be politically correct and we don't want to talk about it, it's something that has to be talked about. And I want to have our country be safe again. And you can see, just look at Germany. Look what happened in Germany with the tremendous crime that took place like overnight, the tremendous problems they had on New Year's Eve. And, you know, I just want to see something different for our country. We're starting a dialogue. And because of what I've done all over the world, they're starting to think I mean, you take a look at Brussels and you look at some of these countries, it's what's going on is incredible. And at a minimum, we're getting a dialogue started so we can come up with a solution.
Imam, let me start with you. You agree with Donald Trump.
Any type of safety, security measure to basically hold on, make us understand what is really going on, I would really consider it as a very wise move.
And I think that today we are in the midst of the darkest hour in American history. And so if we don't make the right move with the right people at the right time, the America that we know, we're not going to see it become great again.